What's going on? Welcome back, ladies and men of prestige. My name is Ola. Welcome back. I'm coming to you live from my Empire Pro Studios. Welcome back. What's going on? Good to see you. Do me a favor, hit that like, share, subscribe as you're coming in. Hit that like button as you're coming in. We have an important topic to cover today. Hopefully, how's your week going? Today's Wednesday, right? How's your week going so far? Good to see you. Shout out to D-Love. I see that comment. Let me pull that up. Welcome back. Another banger we did here. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. We do have a very important topic to talk about today. Okay? So do me a favor as you're coming in, hit that like button, share, subscribe, grab the link to this video and share it with 3 people. Text message, WhatsApp, with your other phone, of course, right? On Twitter, if you hit that little curvy icon under this video, it will help you share it, but yeah, please go ahead and share this. We have a very, very important topic to talk about today. We're talking about LAOLU Martins. Excuse me. We're talking about LAOLU Martins. We're going to talk about LAOLU Martins. We just reports that he passed away. And we're going to talk about who this particular gentleman was. Okay. But again, we're going to talk about... Sorry, somebody's blowing up my phone. I'm just going to have to keep turning it off on today. Turn it off. But yes, we're going to talk about... And then also, if you're here and you have any direct encounters with this gentleman, please feel free. Let us know what type of encounter you had with him. But beyond that, anyway, we have a very important topic to talk about today. We're going to talk about depression. Okay. We're going to review some documentation together. Okay. I'm actually going to be reviewing it with you. All right. This is something we have to pay attention to. We're not going to act like experts today. No one of us, we're experts. We're still evolving as a species, right? But we know some things and we can continue to review those things together, especially with respect to relationships. Okay. Yes. So at this point in time, this has been less than 24 hours when this news broke out. So we don't know any details outside of the facts of the report, which I will go through in a second. All right. But anyway, without any further ado, let's get started. All right, so let's go ahead and take care of the sponsor and then we can get started. I'll be right back in about 60 seconds. Let's get to it. All right, welcome back. Welcome back. All right, so we have this. This is a very sad situation, obviously, for the family. Condolences to the family of LAOLU Martins. We are going to be talking about this with all due respect because, as always, there's always some kind of lessons, right? So, with that being said, please feel free to introduce yourself in the chat as you're coming in. Don't just be quiet. Introduce yourself. I would like to know who's watching. Thank you so much. And if you're watching the rebroadcast later, you can also announce who you are in the comment area. Okay. So thank you so much. And let's not forget that you're coming in, hit that like button, share, and subscribe. Because today is probably going to be one of the most important. This is going to be one of the most important episodes. Okay. This is Prestige Hour 22. It's going to be, it's going to be the most important episode because this topic is very important. If we don't get this right, nothing else matters. Okay. If we don't get this right, nothing else matters for obvious reasons, right? For obvious reasons. Okay. So let's get into it. On Punch today, they reported this, and we're going to get through it so we can have an idea of this gentleman or who he was, right? Let's see. Buka Hut. Buka in Nigeria means a restaurant, but more so a traditional restaurant where you can literally see all the foods being served. They'll serve you directly from the pot, the cocoa, right? So I'm not sure if that's how they practice it at the actual Buka Huts, but apparently this particular restaurant has about 14 or 15 outlets, and apparently it was growing, right? But the co-owner, one of the co-owner, LAOLU Martins, has passed on, right? He has passed on, right? Hey, shout out to the person watching on Facebook. I like seeing comments on Facebook just as much as I like seeing comments from YouTube. Shout out to you, RP Yemi. Okpa Yemi, I guess. All right. Good evening, Coco 215. Good to see you. Good to see you. All right. So let's get back into the report, right? He has passed on. One of the co-founders of Buka Hut, a Lagos-based eatery, LAOLU Martins, has passed on. I'm avoiding using certain words. Martins, who was a banker, okay? He was a banker with over 21 years of experience in investment banking. I told you some of the best in the professional world comes out of Nigeria, right? Just as much as we have some of this terrible news that we're going to cover some of the highlights as time goes on. Sadly, this is a situation where somebody passed on, but I think he had a life that's worth celebrating. He's a young man. I didn't really get his age. If you know his age, let me know in the chat, but it seems like it's a young man, right? He started his career in 1999. People that start their career in 1999, they're usually like 5 years to 6 years older than me. So he might have been somewhere between 45 and 50. All right, so Martins, who was a banker with over 21 years of experience in investment banking, corporate banking, stockbroking, asset, and pension fund management, passed away on Tuesday night. The family of the deceased confirmed is passing on in a statement on Wednesday. We hereby solicit the support and understanding of everyone as the family, this is a quote by the way, grieves the loss of our beloved LAOLU in our privacy. Our kind request is that you support the family, wife, children, obviously he left wife, children, aged mother and father, and his siblings with your prayers at this difficult time. Okay, that's the worst nightmare for any Nigeria family when they pass on and the parents are still alive or older siblings, anything like that. So they must be going through it right now. Further announcements will be made by the family. The statement said, Martin started his career with PricewaterhouseCoopers in 1999. Yes, the same Pricewater. There may be some kind of partnership, down there in Africa, but it's the same one. Okay, if you're wondering and you live overseas, okay, the accounting auditing firm. He joined Investment Banking and Trust Company PLC, now Stanbic IBTC Bank PLC, where he served in the financial control and trade finance, foreign operations units of the bank, before being seconded to Stanbic IBTC Asset Management Limited, where at various times he was financial controller, head asset management, and lastly, head stock broking. This is a long-term professional life, seems like. He later resigned in 2005 to join Shell Nigeria CPFA Limited. Okay, yes, the same Shell, I think. The fund manager of the Shell companies in Nigeria pension scheme, where he was head investment up till 2008, when he resigned to join Nigeria International Security Limited (NISL), an independent financial services firm specializing in investments within the Nigerian space. All right, so that's the news. That's the news right there. Okay. Now, a lot of reports are reporting that he had been struggling from depression. Okay. So no one's actually knows the cause of death yet. It's just he say here and there. It's less than 24 hours anyway. So no one knows. But I thought, okay, this is a trending news, trending number one in Nigeria. It must have been a very important person in Nigeria. Okay, he died in his lucky home, right? So it must have been a very important person. So I figured that we can also learn some lessons from this. You know, it's an unfortunate situation. All right. Now before we get into that, let me just do some quick shout outs. Shout out to Kelechi. Good to see you, Kelechi. I don't think I've seen you here before. Maybe you haven't chatted with us before. Make sure you're chatting. Let us know who you are. We want to get to know you. But no pressure. If you want to relax and watch, that's fine too, okay? Well, shout out to you, Kelechi. Good to have you. It looks like Kelechi is on Facebook. That's awesome. Good to see you. Please do me a favor on Facebook. If you want us to grow on Facebook, all you have to do is share. Just click that share button. It goes right out. Okay? Thank you so much for that. Nurse Rosie, good to see you. Says that's so sad. Yes, it is sad. Hey, D'Souza, good to see you. Right? Yes, so but where's D'Souza today? There you have her. She's right there. She's diligent. She's doing what she does best. Thanks for coming, D'Souza. Okwayemi says, so painful when I heard the news of his passing on. Yes. Yeah, it's so sad. Especially when you look at the resume I just read. That's sad, But it's even sad. It's even sadder when you hear that's depression. When you hear that normal people with seemingly good life on the outside, a company that's growing, a good professional life, right? Well respected, right? Because if there's any dirt on his name in the past 12 hours, it would have came out. We wouldn't be seeing carbon copy paste news everywhere. We will see all the scandals, right? Can you imagine some pastors passing away like this? Some pastors we've talked about in the past 48 hours, right? So even that makes it even sadder. These are some of the people that are upholding that society that we forget to talk about, sadly, until something like this happens. We're talking about kidnappers and stuff like that, but there are people like this. Majority of people actually are upstanding people trying to do the right thing in that society. Yes, in Nigeria, Now, I don't know him personally. All I'm saying is that if there was any dirt in the past 12 hours, he probably will be out already, Yes. So, yeah, keep your eyes on the back, D'Souza. Keep making that money. Shout out to Lady Navoa. No suit today. Yes, I got on a little bit earlier today, so I'm a little bit in a relaxed mode. But, yeah. Yes. So let's see. I see Brother Patrick. Good to see you, Brother Patrick. May his soul rest in perfect peace. The Lord will comfort and strengthen his family. Amen. Amen to that. Amen to that. Amen to that. Yep. All right. Yes. Keep your eyes on the bag. Thank you for that, D'Souza. Keep your eyes on the bag. You know how they say, right? But yes. So that's the news. Now, today I want us to review some stuff around depression. And there's some interesting, you know. Wait. Let me get this. Opayemi said still went to take his measurements last week. Opayemi, you're a fashion designer. Is that what you're saying? Wow. Yeah, tell us more. How close are you to this man? As for business, or you actually close? Yeah, it's still sad. Very sad. Yeah, but that's how life is, right? One moment you're trying to do the right thing. The next moment, it's a wrap. You know, it's a wrap. It's over. You know, tomorrow is not promised. Regardless of what the cause of death is, tomorrow is not promised. Right? Yeah. So sorry to hear that. May his soul rest in perfect peace. May his soul rest in perfect peace. I'm gonna drop the co-host link right now. If anybody that has any information, submission, want to say something about this, do me a favor, hit that like button. I only have 10 likes on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, I'm missing about 5. Do me a favor, hit that like button. Okay, do me a favor, hit that like button. Thank you. Let's not slack off on that. Hit that like button. I'm missing about 3 right now. 4. I'm missing about 4. Hit that like button. Thank you so much. Thank you. Now let's get into today's actual lesson. I pulled some of this information from reputable sites based on society standards, of course, right? So we're going to talk about depression, and I pulled some of this information from NIMH, okay, NIH, which is the government body here in the United States, okay? And we're going to talk about some of the signs of depression, okay? The truth is that it could be anybody, okay? It could be anybody, okay? That's the truth, okay? And there are people that suffer from depression that is not always obvious, okay? Thank you for getting the likes up. I'm missing 2 right now. I'm missing 2. Thank you so much, okay? I'm missing 1, 2, 1, 2, something like that. Just hit the like button if you haven't. Make sure it lit black or blue, okay? All right, good. Let's see. So yeah, let's review some of the information I was able to pull up. These are some of the signs, okay? And persistent, sad, anxious, or empty mood. Persistent, sad, anxious, or empty mood. Have you ever felt empty? Like there's really nothing going on particularly, but you just feel, maybe there is, but you can't think about it right now. All you know is that it's moody. Actually, the sun is shining outside too. It's not that gloomy outside, but you find that you just can't put your fingers on it, right? Persistent, but it's not just mood. It's not just empty mood. It's not just anxious. It's not just sad. This is the part where I feel like I needed to do this together with you all. The most important part in this is the persistent part. Just because you feel down in any given day is not good enough. As a matter of fact, nothing we see on this video will be good enough to diagnose anyone. Just like you shouldn't be diagnosing people with narcissistic disorder, you shouldn't be diagnosing people with depression either. Okay, we can educate ourselves without projecting what we don't know on people, right? Persistent. It has to be persistent before you make this a thing. Naturally speaking, on any given day, it could have a down day, right? But if you start to think that that equals to the worst case scenario, then you can actually attract what you fear the most. Okay, but with that being said, that's one of the signs. All right. The second sign they have here is feelings of hopelessness and pessimism. Right? Pessimism, opposite of optimism. Right? You see, you see things as half glass empty for the most part. You tend to be a party pooper. You tend to, I'm talking about what pessimism means. You tend to not see the best in anything. You tend to see the worst case scenario. In fact, you operate from a place of worst case scenario for the most part, right? That's pessimism. Hopelessness is exactly what it sounds like when you feel like there's no hope, right? No. Now I'm a firm believer in with God all things are possible. I don't think there's such a thing as impossibility. I just don't think that way, right? You may hear me say things like, "Oh, it's damn near impossible." That's almost impossible. But impossible as an absolute, I honestly don't believe it exists. Even if I have a slip of tongue and I ever say impossible, maybe I'm expressive about whatever we're talking about, right? Maybe I'm extra expressive about it. Maybe I'm just like, I'm feeling very sure about it. But in my heart of hearts, I never mean impossible. It just doesn't make sense. I've seen enough in this world, and I've seen enough in my 42 years here that is an ongoing thing. Something we thought was impossible became possible. In fact, every form of technology you can think of was something that was impossible, including me talking to you right now, and there's no direct cable connecting us together. Once upon a time, that was impossible, right? Until somebody discover wavelengths. They discover, oh yeah, you can transmit energy, and you can transmit a whole me, and with just a little bit of latency, a few seconds between, right? But there's some people that are on the extreme opposite of that. They tend to be pessimistic about everything. They just can't see how it can be good. It's just the way they are. When you mix that together with feelings on a consistent basis, I would probably bet that this needs to be a persistent thing too. But usually, these are this kind of people. Now, this sign is not enough by itself to diagnose a person with depression, right? But it's probably make it easier for them to fall into that space that we don't ever want to go, right? So when you hear people say power of positive thinking, there's some people that are very quick to say, there you go, one day in your positive thinking. It's always positive thinking. You can't positive think yourself. We have to be, I'm a realist. You're not a realist. You're just pessimistic. You just can't see, you just have a hard time seeing the good when it might seem obviously negative on the surface, right? And when you mix that together with a few other things, that's not necessarily a good thing anyway. Plus, it doesn't already sound good. All right. Let me know what your thoughts are as it's going through your mind. Pushbacks, agreements, pushbacks. A point of contention, additional context, stories, whatever. Let me know your thoughts as we're getting through this. Okay. Hopelessness is not necessarily something you control. Sometimes you feel that way, you know. Pessimism is not something you necessarily control directly either. It's something that you have to position yourself in a different position to change that. It's an outlook, right? It's not, if you could control it, you wouldn't do it, right? But you can change your position in life, or you change what you're feeding with your brain, and then you can absolutely change that over time. Okay. Feelings of irritability, frustration, or restlessness. Again, none of these are signs, they're symptoms. You don't treat these things, you find out the underlying cause, right? They have to do a root cause analysis to find out what's going on underneath. But these are some of the signs. The root cause, the point we're making is that the root cause could be depression disorder. Okay. It could be, right? For the most part, it's probably not. It's probably just another day, right? Well, these are some of the things you want to pay attention to for yourself. The idea here is not for you to go and be observing people and psychoanalyzing people if they have it. That's not the idea. Neither should you be doing it to your spouse or your husband. That's just terrible. Again, you will attract what you fear the most. We're talking about self. If you notice that you're having these feelings, right? These are things you should pay attention to if it's especially if it's consistent with the other signs that we're talking about right now. And this is according to NIH.gov. Okay. Now they've done extensive studies to come up with this, but think about it. It's science. There's always ongoing science around this kind of stuff, right? So let's keep going here. All right. I see you, Janet. I'll come right to you as soon as we get through this segment. All right. So we have the next one here. We have feelings of guilt, worthlessness, or helplessness. Okay. Feelings of guilt. I tell people all the time, people that try to shame people say there's nothing good that comes out of shaming, blaming, judgment, condemnation, right? You're trying to instigate guilt in a person. Oh, by the way, self-guilt is a thing too. Nothing good comes out of it, right? It doesn't have to be your fault. Even if it's your fault, it doesn't have to be your fault beyond just identifying that. You don't have, like, if you stay in that feeling that something is your fault persistently, you have guilt, right? It's nothing good that comes out of it. That's why we always talk about learn how to forgive yourself as fast as possible. Forgiving yourself means you've acknowledged that you did something wrong, but you say, hey, it's life. It is what it is. I'm moving forward. I'm not getting stuck. Remember, everything we're talking about surrounds the idea that people get stuck in a place, right? And they can't get out. It could be in their head, right? It's probably in their head, right? And they can't get out. They're trying to escape, right? Guilt does that. Worthlessness. One of the things I talk about when my wife and I came up with a three variable formula for a happy relationship and happy marriage. I'm not sure if I've said it in this 22 episodes. It's basically GPS: God, purpose, and self. God, purpose, and self. God is your source of unconditional love. You're not capable of unconditional love by yourself. You have to subscribe to something higher. Okay? Especially you have to subscribe with the other person to something higher so that you can inject humility on a consistent basis. If you don't do that, you have feelings. You'll get caught up in your feelings. And sometimes you feel like the other person is having one up on you, and then you become argument. It's toxic. It's an active competition going on. But if both of you subscribe to one thing, the second one is purpose, right? Purpose is lead with why. Like, everything is about why. If you don't understand why, you can't fix it. You can't move forward. You can't. It's purposeless. Like, you can't, if you don't have a strong enough purpose that's bigger than life itself, including your own life, there's a good chance that you're going to create a messy mess. Janet, come back. You left. Come back. All right. You're going to create a messy mess. Always. Because everything you're doing is just for the now and not for something long-term with a bigger purpose, right? The last one is self. Right? One of those self is, we talk about self-confidence, self-worth, talk about self-improvement, all these kind of things, right? Self-worth is a big part of it. It's how you feel. Like, what sense of value do you feel attached to you, right? So that's one right there. So we've covered about 4 signs. We've got about, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 signs to go. Before we get into that, let me bring Janet to the stage. Hey, Janet, how are you? Can you hear me?
Hi, Mr. Ola. I can hear you.
How are you doing today?
Good. I'm good, and you?
Good. Good to see you. Talk to me.
Good to be on this show today. I just saw this news on someone's status a few minutes ago, and my heart broke again. And I'm like, God, not again. And I think for me, it's because I can relate with it. And one of the things I will forever be grateful to God for was coming on Obodo Imbo's show at some point last year. to say something I'd never said in my life about my life.
Oh, wow.
And to be honestly speaking, I think that the rate of depression currently in Nigeria is extremely high. And it's sad that I think the Ministry of Health also is lackadaisical a little bit about it. And there's just so much responsibility in the hands of private organizations, non-governmental organizations trying to create awareness about this than the government itself. And I saw some people saying, oh, why would you bring this guy's story into it? Can't you do the show without, having to bring this guy's story into it? This is, I don't believe this is not about, trying to use this person who has, now gone to rest to shine on the show. It's not, I don't think so. It's not for publicity stunts. It's also about us, coming to talk about these things. Nigerians are, it's still a community where a lot of people are still very closed-minded about this. And I will share with you, Mr. Ola, because some weeks back I read something on Instagram and I saw someone's comment and I was shocked. Someone is saying that she's close to the point of committing suicide, and somebody said, why do you have to commit suicide? If you want to commit suicide, commit suicide. We are all going through this.
Yeah.
There are people
That's
like
terrible,
that.
terrible comment, right?
It's a terrible comment. And I try to engage the person because usually when what I do on social media a lot of times is
it's not worth it.
study behavior.
It's never worth it. They've made up their mind.
No.
If somebody is coming off as negative online, it's never worth it. The reason why I'm doing this show is probably because of 20 other people. One person can go and kick the rocks. And you also always have that attitude, right? But because they always think it's about them and their own holiness, right? So that's why they're coming from that place. And it's ignorance at best, but go ahead. Oh, are you back? I think she left and then came back.
So,
all right. Yeah, I think you dropped off and came back. Go ahead.
Yeah. So basically, I have observed that the Nigerian community back home is not still very much aware. Unfortunately, there's also a cultural norm that men should burden up about certain things. Like they're just like the dumping ground to shoulder everything. So there is just this natural tendency to bottle up their struggles, their pains. It's a sign of strength. And I've come to start telling every man, young and old around me, like it's okay to be vulnerable because you are human.
Yes.
It's when I saw this news today, I was so heartbroken. Then I saw his profile and I'm like, oh no. And of course, you've said a lot of things that I do not want to go over again because these are basic things. But I think a lot of time for men, the moment they start failing, it's a lot more difficult for them to handle than women because
do you think the expectations of men is just
it's too high? It's too high, and we need to start normalizing, telling our men it's okay to be weak at some point in your life. It's okay if you're falling at some point of your life. We should learn to be a community that gives support. Sometimes I don't know what people are going through. With my own personal experience, it's so interesting that I'm not ashamed to say that I had to go for therapy. Thanks to Obodo Imbo, because I was going to postpone it till I go to Nigeria. But I was glad that she didn't give me that chance. She connected me with the right set of people. I started to realize that stress is another big factor.
Yes.
Stress has a way of wearing you out. And I realized that if you are in Nigeria, where you have been so used to maybe 4 a.m. to 10 p.m., and you get to Obodo Imbo and you realize that you got some time for yourself, anybody who has transited that kind of journey would realize that at some point your body physically, it's difficult for it to adjust for a period of time. But aside that, a lot of things could cause stress, but stress is a big factor to depression because it's there's a way it takes life gradually from you, and it gets to a point that you are like draining physically, mentally, emotionally, and sometimes certain situation will come and eat you so hard that you get to that point you realize that you don't have the strength.
Yes.
Secondly, I would like to say that also, that as much as people would like to say that depression is a mental, it's got its physical factor, Mr. Ola, I will also tell you that it is spiritual.
Okay, tell me more about that.
This has nothing to do with being religious. This has to do with from my own personal experience, because I got to that point where I understood how people get to the point that they take their own life. It's a place of total darkness. I was telling someone, I said, before someone commits suicide, they've already lost. They're like at the deepest part of depression, where nothing, the only thing they can feel is the peace that death can bring.
Right.
And they have no physical power or control. I remember the point while I was in the school hostel, I was in the shower and I was looking at the tiles. The wall, the tile was, I was battling the force to hit my head. And I was crying and I was shaking. And the lady beside me was like, Sister Fumi, is everything okay? And I was like, looking at her, but I was crying. But in my heart, I was crying for help because I was struggling. I was looking at the tiles and I was like, let me just, because the feeling, it's like there's an atmosphere. I told someone, I said, it's a fake peace.
Right.
That every person at that point feels, because there is no joy in killing yourself. Even God would not be happy, right? But there's just this peace that they feel at that point, and they can't see the hope. They don't have even the strength, even if they have a little will at that point. So when people say they are depressed, we should not joke
Don't take
about
it for granted.
Even if somebody is laughing, and that's another thing, because a lot of times people will say, you are strong, I will laugh, I will even bear people's burdens, I will shoulder people's burdens, but I was going through. And this is the way I think an average African is. We sometimes, for someone who is selfless, you forget about yourself.
Right.
You're shouldering other people's, but when you get to that point, you don't even know how to navigate anymore. So we need to pay attention to stress factor. We need to pay attention to the fact that it is also spiritual. And one of the things that I've come to understand is that whether we accept it or not, that our atmosphere is spiritually polluted.
The what?
The atmosphere itself is spiritually polluted.
Okay, polluted. What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that?
This is me speaking from the spiritual angle as well now.
Right.
It dawned on me a few days ago that a lot of things are happening spiritually that we are not even aware of. We go out, we do things, there's a portion of the Bible that says the arrows that fly by day, the ones that move by. And I realized that in this time that we are in, with everything going on, you have to find a way to also be spiritually fortified one way or the other. And I'm not talking about going to pastor or going to the ocean. Sometimes you just have to pray, commit yourself to God. You understand?
You're saying people should stay prayed up.
Yes, take charge of your environment as well. Then also, I keep saying it, let's stop making mockery. Situation in Nigeria is tough. It's tough for everyone. I hear people who are even rich say to me, Omo, it's sad. So it means that for somebody who is even maybe was an average person 4 or 5 years ago,
Right.
they are like somebody who is poor right now because they are barely, surviving. So
Right.
only God knows what a lot of things might have gone, might have happened in Laolu's life. Who knows the stress? I feel that maybe work stress could be part of it. A lot of factors could be part of it.
Yeah,
Business,
we don't know.
wise,
We
a
don't
lot of
know.
things could be, and pressures, because sometimes if there are issues relating to financial
What we
settlements,
know,
business.
to be clear, is just as an interval before you continue. What we know is that the reports are saying is self-deletion. That's what we know. We also
This,
know for a fact that life is rough. We know that
mhm.
life can be very stressful. But
So
continue.
there are so many things that could be a limiting factors to this. But for me, the highlight is that Nigerians need to wake up. Because I tell people that I was telling some people some days ago, I said it's just unfortunate that Nigerians are beginning to fall gradually. That this is not a nation I used to know, because we are strong. We find joy even as a community. Somewhere by the time you go out, somebody
But let me
here.
ask you a question. Did we find joy, or we just are very quick to move on from this type of situation, or we brush them under the rug like they're not happening?
I think that, or I feel, by our nature, because I sometimes I say that Nigerians are very peculiar, and God must have been so careful in the way He created us. I think that our level of strength or endurance spirit, we've got a very deep enduring spirit, with which we tend to find alternatives. Like we've got solution solving skills to every problem, and we used to have something back then, but I feel that community is failing, and that's a family, a kind of society, in like community, immediate community and family bonding, such that if Uncle A is not available, Uncle B is available. But now it seems everybody is busy. People barely care about one another in terms of checking up as it used to be back then.
Right.
So people barely have someone to speak to or run to in terms of need immediately. Some people are already, they become, because for someone like me, for a long time I wasn't speaking up, because I paid attention to everyone around me, and I realized that, my attention is only needed when the people come around, when they need my attention for something. So I barely don't speak up. But when the whole issue happened, and I said some of the things I was going through, they were shocked that 20, 30 years, you kept some of these things to yourself. And for me, there are people like that as well. If they don't have that environment, a community of their
So
own
they
that
don't have a
has their
support
back.
system.
Yes, support. Thank you. A support system that is reliable.
Right.
Before, you could get it within either your school community, you could get it from your friends on the street, but now it's more of a wicked world. It's more of everybody watching their back. It's more of,
Everybody in
somebody,
or your own.
and it's like now everything, somebody tells you something about what is going on in their life, before you know it's on the internet. People are debating about it. So these are some of the things that make people to hold back.
Right.
And of course, depression comes with delusion, because sometimes you're not in the real world at some point.
Right.
You are,
That's
to be
the
honest,
whole point, right?
you are not.
If you could change that, you would change it, right? You would just
Yes,
change it.
you
Yeah.
are not. Even sometimes your behavior, because at some point I realized that people complained about my behavior for so long, and I was getting more frustrated about it. But I didn't know that it was as a result of the fact that I was also having internal battles that I wasn't telling anybody. But by the time I went for my therapy, I realized that there are a lot of things that we need to a lot of weight we need to learn to please do away with. And we need to start accepting the fact that we need one another to survive the hard times.
Right.
And Nigerians need to do less about shading people about their problems, of course, because nobody wants the worst of life. But
Right.
life happens. But we should learn to be such that we are brothers
We should have
keepers.
some empathy.
Yes, we should be our brothers keepers to the point that we don't laugh at them. We don't downplay that. I met some people when I told them my problems. I realized that whenever I tell them my problems, they make it look like I'm stupid or I'm not is irrelevant, or what I'm
Right.
saying is not, there's no big deal. And they tend to downplay the pain, the troubles. And it was, for me, for someone like me at that point, it was, making it worse. The whole situation was. But we need to see this, that these things are also factors that make people sometimes not to speak up.
Right.
And we all need to learn about, like, observe ourselves. One of the things I do right now is I get, because I used to have I get anxious easily before my therapy. In fact, I will have a lot of panic attacks, and I will still try to continue life. But I learned now that if I'm trying to do a task, I'm trying to become to do something meaningful, because sometimes the issue of purpose in life,
Right.
if you're not getting it right, can be very
It's
frustrating.
frustrating. Right.
It
Right. So
can be
now,
very
so now you
frustrating.
get to a point where you start to cross the line of attachment, right?
I'm telling you, during the war, when the war broke out in Ukraine, people were calling me, people that knew what I was going through and knew that I was just coming back, bouncing back to life, were calling me. I'm like, I'm okay. But you guess what, Mr. Ola? For the first 1 week of that war, I didn't feel anything. I didn't feel any emotion. I will talk to myself and I will say to myself, Fumilayo, are you okay? I will say to
Are you
myself,
close to Ukraine?
I left
Were
Ukraine.
you? Oh, you were there, right?
Yes, I was there.
Okay. Okay. Go
I
ahead.
said to my, I kept saying to myself, because I was checking to be sure if I'm not, because sometimes when I've lost it emotionally, it's because there is an hidden burden that you're not feeling. And it could take something to bring it out. And when it comes out, it could be bad. 2 weeks
Yeah.
down the line, I started having, traumatic experiences. I would not sleep well. And
Yeah.
but because my therapist has,
Sleeplessness does come up in the
yes,
list. Yeah.
because I was with this German family who were well knowledgeable, and I had people. My therapist had done a good job with enlightening me and following me up. I realized that I was able to manage that season very well, that it didn't break me down. Even there were days that I would I would feel, sad about the things I've lost, so many things. I just tell myself, no, I have life. So, and then one more thing,
Yes.
people who are depressed sometimes just need somebody to listen to them.
To listen, not to preach at them, not to tell them what is right, not to correct them, just someone to listen,
Sometimes they need just a shoulder, a
to
safe
cry on,
place
to lay
they can
on.
cry. I mean, physically cry on. I tell my male friends now, because I have some of them who are in Nigeria, and when they tell me how frustrated they are, intelligent, hardworking guys. Well, imagine working for 5 months and your company is not paying you, and you still have to keep going to work.
Right.
And and sometimes they are I can hear them trying to package themselves well as men, and I'll just tell them, look, dude, you don't have to be vulnerable. It's okay, you are man,
Right.
you are human. So
Yeah.
please, I just hope that a few things I've said, a few people can also learn from it, in case you come across people. And one more thing, please, do people who are depressed, do not make them feel like depressed people. Yes, they are depressed, but do not treat them like depressed people. What I mean is, don't put them in that box.
Right.
And I'm just speaking from an experience of someone who
That,
had a
that's
severe.
something that Yoruba people say. Maka ika ni oloju ika onika mefa loju onika mefa. Don't count somebody who has 6 fingers. Don't count their fingers right in front of their face.
Yes, don't throw it at their face that, oh yes, you care for them, but don't care for them like they are very sensitive. They don't do it
Some
deliberately.
people's way of caring, some people's way of caring is selfish. It's their own feelings, and they kind
Mm,
of entangle it up with that the idea that they care, but they actually don't care. It's their own sense of righteousness that they care the most about, and sometimes they're not aware that they do it. But it's the reality that's something we can all watch out for. Sometimes you act like you care, but you don't really care. How do you know? Because the effect of your actions on their feelings is actually worse than what you would then what whatever your terrible intentions were.
yes, you're correct. You're very
Yeah.
correct. You're very, very correct because I've had a lot of it. I've had a lot of negative words to the point that in my head, sometimes with all the strength I used to have back then, positive mind, and then
Mm,
I will hear those voices speaking again. So they don't need you to treat them like invalids. Maybe that's another word I can use. It's
right.
just they just need you treat them like normal
They just
human
want you
being.
to
Treat
be
them with
there. Just being
respect.
there is more than enough.
Yes, treat them with more respect because they need to take off a lot from their mind and a lot they can speak about. And that's another thing, the mentality of, oh, my suffering is somebody stated it, my suffering is better than your own. Nigerians do it a lot. Oh,
Yeah,
like I've gone through I've
twice
gone through
released
worse
a video
things.
today about that.
I've gone through worse things. So what are you going through? No,
Yeah,
please. Let's
yeah.
let's not do it. I know Nigerians are pretty we are pretty like new to this pandemic. Let me use that word
Hmm.
because it's not something that um, was found in our nature before these seasons came. But hearing children committing suicide, teenagers committing suicide, you wonder what have they gone through in life.
Hmm.
And one more thing, I lost before I relapsed into depression. I lost
Right.
my cousin January 2 years ago,
Okay.
and somehow I feel, but God taught me to also forgive myself because days before that incident, she requested for fund I didn't have.
Oh wow.
I didn't know that she needed financial help, and she was trying to please her parents because the money they gave her, she used it for something, and she was trying to explain to them why she used it for something else, but they were not listening to her. And I think they've always not given her enough listening ears.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
she went outside, bought this their insecticide that I don't know they used to drink back then, and she came into the room, dropped a voice note, sent it to her friend, and committed suicide before they rushed her to the
Yeah. Don't use
hospital.
that word. Don't use the S word.
Oh,
Just a
okay.
self deletion. Yeah.
Yes, so she deleted herself. She drank it and deleted herself. Before they got to the hospital, she was gone. But the thing was, she was not being stupid at that time. She was overwhelmed and drained emotionally. I read about another person, another child after that incident, and I saw people's comments, and I saw that Nigerian parents also need to learn to give listening ears
Hmm.
because these children are going through a lot. I talk to teenagers a lot of times. The things they say to me, Okola, sometimes I'm like, why do I have God? Why do you? I realize that some of the things I've gone through in life is for a purpose
Hmm.
because now I scaled through them. I
Hmm.
can rightly guide these people, these teenagers. Parents, please, because the worst of it is that most of the children that parents complain about, who go off the line of the family moral standards and principles, is usually because they become very rebellious. Is because
Hmm.
they are not being heard.
Yes.
I've taken time to listen to how the Oyinbos
Hmm.
they relate with their children, and I saw the lapses. We impose self.
Hmm.
Parents impose themselves on their children, and in the course of doing this, what you do is you gradually kill your children and frustrate who they are. When
Hmm.
they get to the breaking point, some will turn to the street, to friends, and become something you don't want. Some others will not take it, we delete themselves.
Right.
which was the case of my cousin. So I just hope that these few things I said might have been able to, enlighten a few people more. Let's not take it for joke. It's a season, and we just hope that as Nigeria gets better, hopefully
Right.
we can be the, life of the world that we used to be.
Right.
the strong people and enduring people that we used to be again. Thank you,
Right.
Mr. Ola.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming, and thank you for dropping. You dropped a lot of gems. It's always good to have someone who can relate. Because on the internet we have a lot of people with theory. They're just talking about theory or what they feel and what they feel, but there's no real life examples of what we're talking about. So thank you so much for coming up and being vulnerable enough to share with us. Thank you so much, brother Patrick. You did there.
Hey, brother.
Good
Well
to
done.
see you, sir. Good to see you, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Thank
What's on
you.
your mind about this topic, sir?
Let me first of all say thank you for giving that caller the chance to express herself.
Hmm.
Doing that, I believe that was a therapy for her.
Yeah.
And we
Yeah.
also learned from it as well.
Hmm.
And she's speaking from experience,
Yes.
which is
Yes.
good. I appreciate her coming to speak anyway.
Yes.
This
Yes.
topic it's, it's now becoming rampant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
When I came to the US, there was a young man. We were in church,
Hmm.
like my age group, and he's a computer programmer.
Hmm.
So he was the first person that even brought its desktop to my house. Just came, bro, Patrick, so wow,
Hmm.
I don't have a computer then.
Hmm.
So he travels a lot. He's a senior manager in a computer company.
Hmm.
In a Siemens, he worked for Siemens, one of the German company.
Hmm.
So I was shocked. I know they said this man had this issue, you know, like they call it the depression. They kind of regard it as a kind of chemical imbalance in the brain.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if I'm right.
Hmm.
Yes, but I
No.
was very,
I,
I
I,
was,
I I mean, there's some truth to it. All those things are still ongoing studies. But go ahead.
that's a very lovely family. He even adopted 2 kids.
Hmm.
This man is good. It's okay. He's a senior manager and a computer, software manager. But I was shocked when this man deleted himself. I said, "Oh my God,
Hmm. Yeah.
that really affected me. I can't even imagine. Even the wife, the wife and the children have to move.
Hmm.
He was a Sunday school teacher. We were teaching the youth in the church. He's a white guy.
Hmm.
So I was like, oh my God. And one thing I want to say is that it can happen to anybody,
Yeah.
like the speaker said. And one thing that just came to my mind, just like for an example that I have in mind, is like, when lack of oil in a car can knock down the engine.
Hmm.
Bro, like, as much as oil it is, I don't know of the modern car now, but the normal car that uses engine,
Hmm.
that run on oil and gas. Bro, like, if you have gas as in petrol in your car, and there is no oil when you are supposed to change your oil, your car can get knocked. It can knock the
Right.
engine.
Right. Yes, of course. If you're
Yes.
not feeding yourself with the right
Yes. So,
nutrients.
and like that sister said, therapy is very important.
Mm.
Irrespective of you being a Christian or something happened, I'm going to share my experience. Bro, like when I was doing my master's here, I was doing good, my A's, very good.
Mm.
And my mother-in-law stayed with us for like 2 years before she moved back to Nigeria. We used to call her, talk, and she used to fall sick here. And luckily when she got to Nigeria, this woman never fell sick. Like, what?
Mm.
So this mama, Nigeria, you like Nigeria. And my kids were younger then, so they know her. He used to my son. She used to call my son his pastor, come and pray for me, and all those things. So when the woman died, I was doing my masters. I have to call one of my friend, a pastor, to come and break the news to my wife because she was at work. I didn't want to tell her. When she came, and I said my friend should come. We sat down. So my friend just, my wife was like, "What are you talking?" So I just registered for a course like 2 weeks. So one of my friends, one professor in my church, now said, "Pastor, I hope you didn't register for a class." I said, "I already registered. I can't drop. It's money." Brother, I thought I was strong. The man said, "I shouldn't have registered for a class." I said, "Well, I've registered already." Brother, let me tell you the fact, that was my worst result in life. I got 28%. I failed that course. And in graduate school, you can't fail.
Yeah.
They wrote me that Mr. Patrick.
Like, Sheshinoni, Wasibini.
No, you flunked out of school 28%. That was the worst grade in my life, brother Allah. Something I paid for. $3,500, $3,500 for a class. And I've been doing well, A's, I showed called my wife, I showed the letter. I said, "What is wrong with me?" I said, "The professor said I shouldn't have started." I said, I thought I was strong. Because everybody, something happened in my house. She's like a mother to me. So, brother, it was my course advisor that I was even in Canada. She called me, said, "Patrick, what's wrong?" I just got this letter. I said, "I'm in Canada. I'm going to Nigeria." This was, God just used me. When you are going through such thing, there's a way they do it in school. They now said I should write a letter, get a death certificate. I did all those things.
Right.
Yes, they have a way to do. They know such thing can affect you. Shock will know. Because they look at my grade. This man is on 3.8 or whatever. How can you just fail this class? You understand?
Yeah, this is our very sense of existence, So of course it can affect.
So American, they said they gave me a website, they gave me a link, and they linked me with the director of everything, those people in the school. And I wrote a letter. What they wanted, they said they want the death certificates. Luckily, I'm in Nigeria. I just got everything. Brother, you know what they did? They did not only they put withdraw in that class, and I don't have to pay. There was a refund. So what I'm trying to bring out from there, I can't imagine me such thing affecting me. I said I got 28%, 20 over 100. That my course advisor has to call me, say, "What is happening to you?" So it can happen to anybody.
We're talking about the human brain at the end of the day.
And Nigeria's situation is even worse. Brother. You want to talk about stress? You want to talk about people being frustrated of things not moving the right way? Not achievements?
Yeah.
There's no proper medical care.
Yeah.
Just recently, one of my friends that work in University of Benin, one of the staff members, as ASU, is a non-academic staff. The guy deleted himself because he doesn't have money to pay for the daughter's school fee.
Yeah, there's no one single event that does it, but you just never know what series of events led to that one trigger.
Yes. Yeah, what people need is the awareness.
Yeah.
If there's consistent, if there's a way, I'm gonna pull it up like you mentioned, brother. Consistent lack of interest.
Yeah.
You are just losing interest in things of life.
Persistent.
Yes, persistent.
Same thing, but they call it persistent. It's a tough one on the human mind.
Yes.
Yeah.
As if the whole life, the whole world is gonna. Everybody should just go to
Persistent,
heaven.
sad, anxious, and empty mood, feelings of hopelessness and pessimism,
Yes.
feelings of irritability, frustration, and restlessness, feelings of guilt. You know, many of you that are paying attention, you saw somebody trying to project guilt on themselves earlier in this same stream, right?
Yes.
We perpetuate the same behavior. Or when Janet was talking about people trying to help, but then they make you feel guilty or make you feel worse.
Yes.
In spite of their good, in spite of their so-called good intentions, though.
It is characterized by persistent sadness and lack of interest or pleasure in previously rewarding or enjoyable
loss of
activities.
interest. Yes, loss of interest and pleasure in hobbies and activities. You just don't want to participate. You just find yourself that you don't want to participate. There's also a decreased energy, fatigue, and feeling slowed down. Then there's also difficulty concentrating. That's what you were speaking to earlier.
Yeah,
remembering
like I said,
or making decisions.
Like I said, chemically balance in the brain.
Mm-hmm.
So which will require you to see a therapy.
Yeah.
Maybe they might give you a medication, or some things to do, or some, that was a case of one of my friends. The wife is a professor. She's actually a dean. So when they moved to the US, they stay with a friend that the couples are also professor. Brother, they were having some issue. The woman recognized that the husband has this, what we're talking about. So this lady, my friend lady, and that lady, they pray every Saturday. Brother, you know what happened? One day, the lady just got a call that the husband of this woman, he just went into a church, inside the church, their church, and deleted himself. So something will happen that you will just be wondering, and this guy is a professor, what is going on? Yes.
What's your
that sister said, we Africans, we believe in prayer. Prayer helps a lot too. The Bible says many are the afflictions of the righteous. But the Lord will deliver them of all. And when we are talking about affliction can come in different ways.
Right.
You understand? Could be as like what we are talking about. It could be spiritual. It could be mental.
So as a solution to a lot of these issues, right? I always recommend the 3 P's for people, right?
Yeah.
The 3 P's. The first P I mentioned earlier instead of the GPS, purpose, right? If you have a sense of purpose, this is very unlikely that the process, so another P, right, will drown you if you're connected to the purpose. But life is tough, we know that, right? But that's not even the second P. We have purpose, we have prayer, and then we have patience. I talk about patience here a lot. People think, oh, it's just another way just to allow people to walk all over you. No, it's not. Life is frustrating, and if you don't have internalized patience, where you just know that everything is a process, right? Where you just know that they fired you today, some guy on the job is doing this way, you seem frustrated because you can't get the project out on time. You have this infinite sense of patience, which is extremely tough without purpose, right? If you haven't identified purpose very well on a regular, consistent basis, you're going to have a hard time with patience, because you're just not that patient just because, just because. That's not how it works. When you have a sense of purpose, it's a little bit more easier to be patient for the process, because anything that's worthwhile in life is always a process anyway, But
bro, the environment itself, Nigeria is even worse. Let me just say Africa. A place where everybody don't really care about the neighbor. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Even when you have the job, you go to work, you stay in traffic for hours. You come back home, there's no light.
Can you imagine that lifestyle?
You don't.
And we have millions of people going through that lifestyle on a daily basis.
You don't get paid. You know what I mean?
I know.
You can't even point out to this is what we are doing. That is,
They might even owe you your salary for 6 months. Wahala.
People are just thinking of how to build a mansion for 100 million, 500 million. If you die, and so what?
It's a wrap. It's over. It's over just like that.
Allah, in fact, we need to check our brain in that country. I tell you, our brain is not working. I tell you, because if you look at the lifestyle of people, even the party people attend now, the decoration of a party, you want to do a party, you are decorating a party with a chair like 2 million, 3 million. Like, what is going on?
Right.
And people don't have jobs.
This is this on the screen is something I tell people sometimes. How people react to this kind of crisis in their lives is different from people to people. There are two extremes in most cases. There are two extremes, but people tend to go in one extreme or the other. So if you look at this one on the screen, it says difficulty sleeping, and then in the same breath it says oversleeping, right? Early morning awakening. How people respond to these things are different from people to people. Then it says changes in appetite or unplanned weight changes, right? So we've always known that in Nigeria, we say, you lost weight, it can be a sign of depression, right?
What's the major sickness of people in Nigeria? Typhoid.
Is that it? I didn't know that.
Typhoid, I asked typhoid. And they give you shots. They are still giving people shots.
You mean shot on the butt? On the buttocks?
Yeah, where would they give you?
Wahala.
So you just look and say, what is going on?
Yeah.
What is going on? We have a lot of private where you could be treated, but can you afford it? We are talking of millions.
Yeah.
Yes. Somebody came for colon cancer in England. Just so a doctor, a medical doctor, he went back to Nigeria, buy his medication, not knowing that those medications were fake.
Yes.
And the man got deleted.
Yep. I saw that news. That wasn't too long ago, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what are we talking about?
Yeah, it's a lot going on. But let's see here. Look at this statement here, Brother Patrick. This statement says, not everyone who is depressed experiences every symptom.
It's not true. At least one or two.
At least one or two? How do you know it's not true? Tell me, Janet. What do you mean, I should say?
Okay, so yes, not every symptom true, but at least there will be two.
Right.
Because there will be either change in the way you behave, you react to people, you respond to things, your emotions. Because one of the things I later discovered is even that you are nonchalant about someone who says they are depressed, you need to check yourself, because that is not a right emotions also for you to be stone-hearted.
Okay, the stone-hearted part of it.
Yes, because it's not the right response to somebody in distress.
So is it safe for me to say it's not a healthy response? Because when you say right and wrong, you're talking about moral compass. They just may not know.
Yes, it's not a rather healthy response. It's also not the right response anyway. If someone is in distress, by law of nature, you should be kind enough to help. But even if you can help, but you shouldn't be cold.
But they think they are right. They think they are right. A lot of them feel like they're actually helping you, wake you up out of your depression by telling you go and sit down somewhere.
It's a wrong mentality that we hold in Nigeria, or let me say in Africa. Okay. And we need to break free from it, because it's one of the reasons that make people end up not speaking up before deleting themselves. And you wonder that, and you say to yourself, oh, this person has everything. He's been smiling, he's been playing. Do you get? Because the truth is, who cares?
Okay.
Do you get that? We have this attitude of, oh, come on, you can do it, you can be better. No, that's not the attitude we should give. Speak what is going on. Analyze, let them, if it requires analyzing the situation. Sometimes it's just a whole lot in the head, in the mind, that needs to be broken down for them to see there's actually a way out. But if you give them a kind of, you think you're giving them a positive vibe, which is what I think sometimes we try to do as Nigerians. We think we are giving them positive vibes by, saying that, or they are strong, or they can do this, or no, it's not. You understand? This is part of downplaying the things that people are going through. So it's not a healthy. I tell people, if your emotional response to someone in distress is a cold one, check yourself to maybe you're already having some. So there will be symptoms.
Right. Now, really quickly, just so you know, the statement actually agrees with you. It says not everyone who is depressed experiences every symptom. Like you said, at least 2, right? So that still agrees with that statement. And then it goes on to say some people experience only a few symptoms. 2 can be called few, right? While others may experience many. And just for the record, that statement came from the National Institute of Health here in the United States, But yeah, it agrees with you anyway. So
Mr. Ola, I also noticed also from my one of my sessions after the war broke out, and I realized that also lack of vitamin D
causes
could also lead to depression in a way, and I was shocked. Because I'd never believed that could be. If your vitamin D level is low, it could be a factor. If you are always indoor, not also taking fresh air, maybe from AC to AC, sometimes go out. These are some of the physical things you can do, that doesn't cost you money or drugs. And sometimes you need to take in a lot of oxygen, so exercises will help. And it will also help, reduce those toxic energy within. So these are some of the things that I found helping. Sometimes I do, I go on YouTube. I find funny videos.
Right, to make you laugh more.
I'm telling you, I used to be a very serious person that there's no comedian I will not laugh. There's no, because I'm analyzing everything you are saying.
You're psychoanalyzing everything.
My friends will say you're too serious. Life is not too serious. Now I do it alone. I'll be laughing so out loud. I would have laughed for maybe sometimes 3 minutes, and I'll realize, oh, you're alone. No. And I'm happy.
That's why I say the statement a lot. It's not that deep. It's not because some things are not deep. It's because I'm trying to get people to lighten up. Relax. This life will go end for everyone. Relax. For everybody. That's the only guaranteed death. For everybody. So sometimes because of the relationships we have, because of the empathy we have this kind of news. It's sad, right? But in the grand scheme of things, it's not that deep. So that was a good point you brought up there. That's a definitely good point there, Look at this one, right? Several persistent symptoms in addition to low mood are required for a diagnosis of major depression. But people with only a few but distressing symptoms may benefit from treatment as well, So again, diagnosis, let's avoid diagnosing people. Like she said, all you have to be, if you notice obviously you can't unknow what you know. If you've seen these symptoms we've been talking about all day, if you see somebody showing those symptoms, naturally you notice them, right? But it's not your moment to start calling out all the symptoms. This is what this thing is. No, don't do that. Your own is to just be a shoulder for them to cry on, be there for them, and don't try to be Jesus either, because you said the story earlier where you said somebody tried to ask you for something you couldn't, you felt a little guilty. It's okay to feel guilty. That means you're human, right? But please forgive yourself and move on and realize it's probably not your fault, right? So, but back to it anyway. it's not yours to diagnose people. Your own is to just be there for them if they are somebody that you care about. You know. Go ahead.
Yeah. So another thing that I would just like to say to our people is therapy is not there's nothing to be ashamed of in going for therapy.
Yeah.
I've met a couple of people that friends who knew about my experience referred to me. And I remember this particular guy. My conversation with him made me realize that he's still entangled with his past. He's hurt by the past that he cannot change.
Yeah.
And it's affecting every relationship he goes into. And the fact that if the moment those relationships don't work out and the ladies leave, it aggravates the situation. He has been self-medicating. It took me days, and at some point I even had to stop, and I'm also going to talk about that, to encourage him to accept the offer of seeing a therapist. Now, the Nigerian man, or let me say, not just because it's not only the Nigerian man that is egoistic, I think it's just sometimes pride is also really dominant in our nature.
Yes. Pride is a big part of who we are as Nigerians.
Yes.
Sometimes it's good because when it's translating as confidence, right? But
yeah.
in a lot of ways,
we don't know. Yeah, there's a different there's a thin line between pride and confidence.
Yes.
And you know what he told me? He said he doesn't need a therapy. What does the therapy want to tell him that the therapist want to tell him, want to check him for that he hasn't read about? Please, my dear people, even if you have read, because prior to my therapy session, I had read wide. In fact, the German therapist.
So you were educated. You were an educated person. This is not the issue.
No, me. If something is happening to me, I'm googling, I'm checking online what is going on. I'm calling doctors, male and female, that I know around me. But to the point that when I was in Germany at some point, and the therapist I was speaking to, he said to me, "You are so knowledgeable about everything that is happening to you." I said, "Yes, but I need a way forward. I don't want to keep going."
You were stuck. So even though you know all this stuff, but you were still stuck.
That's exactly, and that was the situation with that guy. And so please, guys, please, my fellow Nigerians, my fellow people, your life is valuable. You're for a purpose. The challenges are but for a moment. The moment could be 1 year, could be 2 years, but you are only a victor.
It's temporary.
If you live to tell the stories, not if you kill yourself. There are a lot, and the person told me, "Oh, Nigerian therapists are not even that good," and I told him it's a lie, because I was in Ukraine.
Yeah, a lot of people that say that have never engaged therapy before. I don't know how you can assess something you've never engaged before. By the way, it's not just Nigerians. Before the Obodo fam came in and took over, which I appreciate, by the way. Before the Obodo fam came in and took over, a lot of people that came to this platform that I was engaging were Americans. Many of them are listening right now, and they're Americans. There are many of them who call themselves traditionalists, and they push against the idea of therapy all the time. So it's just anybody who it's a conservative thing, right? People that have issues with anything that sounds progressive, they feel funny about it. They feel like somebody's out to get them, right? As opposed
I think
to
it's a place of insecurity.
It is partly insecurity. A lot of it is insecurity, right? But especially, right, if you've never engaged therapy before, how could you possibly make a good objective assessment about it?
It's just funny. It was funny to me but I was able to tell him that, look, I'd gone through a therapy section through in the hands of Nigerian psychologists, and with the help of also therapists and all of that, and I got the full support And I can tell you that for someone like me who is I'm not open, I'm not the open type. When my sister shouted when she heard something, she said, God, where did you get the strength to show that everybody's issues and you were going through all of this for decades, nobody knew. So
Yeah.
if I know because I have used some of them and they worked. And I think Obodo Ibo, Auntie B can even do some recommendations. Also, one of the things I want to say is, please, if you're experiencing stress and you're experiencing burnout as a result of stress, don't enslave your mind to always want to be there for people.
And this so you don't, because a lot of people's source of stress is because they try to satisfy everybody.
Yes. And well, for some people who are like me, they are just naturally pure-mindedly selfless. But then my therapy session made me realize that it's okay to be who you are. But you need wisdom.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
So, and I know that Nigerians by nature, we are naturally good-hearted people who want to help people. But pay attention to the events taking place in your life.
Oh, speaking of risk factors, okay? Let me fly through this really quickly. It's very quick. Risk factor number 1, personal and family history of depression. Sometimes it's not stuff you're going through personally, right? Risk factor number 2, major life changes, trauma, and stress. I think you've stressed that a few times in the past 2 minutes, right? Risk factors include number 3, certain physical illness and medication. You also mentioned that you talked about vitamin D earlier, right? So most people tend to focus on this one, number 2. But go ahead, keep talking.
Yeah. So basically, just what I was just trying to say is, learn to draw healthy boundaries. And one of the things that I learned also, and I'm sharing for free, is that don't be afraid to tell people to stop. When people are doing something, it doesn't matter if it's your boss, it doesn't matter if it's your parents, your elders, but when you see that they are dragging you to the point where you are becoming mentally stressed and exhausted, take a stand. You can do it politely without fighting, without being violent about it or disrespectful about it, but take a stand, because at the end of the day, you've got you to cover. And it is only when you cover yourself, you're fully covered, you can support any other person. So I learned one thing: there's so much strength you can dissipate in the course of helping other people, but pay attention to your strength part time, per season. And yes, trauma, like one of the risk factor, trauma. A lot of us, maybe childhood trauma, traumatic experience from childhood and life events as we grow. Also, everything compounded together. You need to let go of the past that you can't change and just focus. And one of the things I learned lately, and I'm grateful for the kind of people that I've just been surrounded with lately, is the things the things you don't want. Do not focus on them, because when you focus on them, you dissipate energy towards them. And
they expand.
It takes from you. But when you focus your energy to things that you want, your gaze are on the things that you want, your energy, naturally tilts towards that path, and you get what you want from life. So the positive energy you want, you get. Now I drop friends like any friend that give me
like
negative vibes. I give you warning first time, second time, third time. If I see that you are not taking me serious, that's the end. I love you, but right now I don't have that
from
capacity.
over there.
Thank you, Uncle.
I hear you. I hear you. Thank you so much. You brought in the heat, and I love it. You helped me out because you can see that there's correlation in everything that I had prepared for this particular session. But I'm so glad that you came and you gave your heart. Thank you so much, Brother Patrick. What are your thoughts at this point, Brother Patrick?
Hey, brother.
Look at this question here. Is the relationship the cause? Right? Let's talk about relationship and depression, So there are two questions here that I posted here. There's one question, how can relationships affect depression? But there's
Very
another
good question.
question, how can depression affect relationships? They seem alike, but they are quite different, right?
Yes.
And I think that's one of the things that makes it complex, because there are people in relationships and they're wondering, like, is it because I'm depressed but that my relationship that's affecting my relationship? Or there are people that feel like it's their relationship affecting depression. What are your thoughts about this, Brother Patrick?
Yeah, like the caller said, and as we know, it can be managed.
Let me show her name. Her name is Janet. So I want you guys to be able to address each other by name. Sorry, my fault on that. I need to find where to turn that on. There you go. Let me see. Is it showing now? We can show it this way.
Okay, Janet.
Janet, you can see now, right? Can you see?
No.
Oh, you can, probably because I started this session already, but just go ahead. Her name is Janet, yes.
Okay. Like I said, like she said, it can be managed. It's just like normal, something that people have. You go through treatment, but this involve your mental, let me give you an example. Somebody that is so much respected. It's elderly. He's retired, a senior manager. He just come and say, Patrick, do you know I have son? So I said, what? He said, yes. I'm taking treatment for it. Wow. I never thought this man could have. He's bipolar.
Bipolar.
So he just told me that's bipolar, but very nice person. So it can be managed.
Yes.
So,
and that's good news. Like, a lot of people they get into this space where they think as it's over, and all you have to do is just cry out for help. Because it can be managed. I tell people, when people talk about mental disorders in general, narcissism, depression, they always talk about it in the sense of Ron, there's nothing that can't be managed. Especially like the people you are usually advising are people that it's not that easy to run. They have a whole life around this situation. They have vested interest. So if first thing you're going to tell them is to run, that's like running from your own shadow, and there's a big ass light beaming on you. You can't run from your own shadow. And even if running is the ultimate solution, at least you want to make sure you assess all the available therapies and solutions available, which there are many. But go ahead, Brother Patrick.
There's some that will be on prescription. You take your medication, you know when to take it and all those things. You manage it. So it's not the end of life.
Yes.
There's always a light at the end of a tunnel.
Yeah.
So you just commit it to God. And like you said, we only get to the extreme cases when people begin to think beyond, that's when it becomes worse.
Right.
As a Christian, that's you have a burden bearer. Say, cast all your burden onto me, Cast your burden to him. Take medication when you have to. See people.
Right. Just ask. Just ask for help. Don't stop at assuming that there's no help. There is help. Ask for help. Don't give up, right?
So let me use this example. When my kids were small, I took one of my boys to hospital and I just sat down. I was waiting for a doctor and I saw literature and I was reading it. These people, this Western world, can you believe the literature was talking about if your wife has a cancer or your partner and he's taking his, what they call it, and he's taking his chemo.
Right, chemo.
And they were saying how you guys could be, even in that process, when it's having cancer as a pull, how you guys can be having kerewa and be enjoying yourself. We're like, oh my God.
Yeah,
They have
there's
room for
solutions for
this.
that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, these people still have room for this.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Wow.
And it's grace for you to be. Let me just say this: it's very important to note that if you are able to hear us and know that there is a solution and you can always ask for help, it still falls under the category of grace, because we don't know the time span that it takes any individual to spiral out of control, right? We just can't judge. We don't know what we don't know, right? So if you're hearing this falls under grace, because there's no guarantee that you'll be able to hear it ever again, because there's no guarantee that you're in that situation where you can even relate in the first place. Maybe you can't relate. Maybe the first thing you saw is like you got triggered. Oh, they're using somebody's name. Like, calm down, right? You can't relate because the people. There's a lot enough of us amongst ourselves right now. May not be you that are dealing with this, and they needed to hear Sister Janet today, right? And that's how you must always lead. You know, issue in your loan to your boy. My English can you, Jerry? Oh Lord.
No issue for America.
No issue and Ekpo. Right?
So let me share this experience. Let me share this thing I had.
Yes, sir.
Related. You know, even we Christian, we overdo things.
Mm-hmm.
You know, one man was preaching. One time, Reverend Olaya, he said there was a lady that came to him, so to say. He had rashes all over her body. And this woman, you know, is about in her 60s.
It's probably stress.
Yes. So she has rashes all over her body. So the man of God prayed for her, gave her anointing oil. I said, go, you are healed in Jesus' name. You know, the woman was happy. So after a few months, the woman came, Pastor, this thing is becoming more in my body. What? The man said, bring anointing. The man prayed seriously. As the woman was going, God said, call her back. The man said, the Holy Spirit ministered to him, call her back. The man said, he didn't even know why he has to call her back. When the woman came, he said, the thing just came to him. The man said, well, how about your husband? Are you still people cry? The man said, no. And the woman, you know, in the early city, daddy, we are old, we shouldn't carry her again. And the man just, okay. And meanwhile, the man want to carry her, but the man could not carry her because, you know, some women will say no. And, you know, we've had our children, we don't want, you know, that kind of stuff. So the person said, what happens now? The man asked, I said, does you and your husband? He said, no, daddy, we don't. I said, God told me that I should tell you. He said, no, you can't stop that. You can't deny your husband. You are still young. You are in your early 60s. I'm your spiritual dad. He said, the one. I said, okay. Brother, Allah. He said, a few more when the woman was just laughing. So when he saw the woman, her body was just glowing. Everything has cleared. And let me tell you, some of us, like Sister Janet said, some of us have something in us that, you know, we decide not to let it go. That we have a carryover that is still part of us that is affecting us.
Yeah, letting go is one of the hardest things for human beings to do.
So my brother, it goes a long way. Yes. Yeah. When I heard that testimony from the man, I said, what? He said the woman's body just got clear just because.
Yeah. It's connected. The mental condition is connected to the physical condition in so many ways.
That's true.
Yeah.
And this relationship and depression, very intertwined.
Yep, intertwined. It's like when you say spiritual, in my opinion, it's all the same. Personally, the way I treat spiritual matters is the same way I treat, you know, I think people sometimes separate them. Yeah, physical, spiritual, and psychological are all the same to me. I don't think one exists without the other. in the
And you know,
in the real sense of it, right?
of it, yes.
You know,
I,
so go ahead.
I was looking at this question of how can depression affect relationships, and from my own experience, it has two sides.
Okay, go ahead.
So, if depression, effect of depression on relationships, a lot of times it's gonna add to the stress factor because it brings a lot of misunderstanding. And a lot of times people who are depressed is it irrational in reasoning, or what is the proper English word to put now? They a bit illogical.
Yeah, they're not. They're more. It's most likely they will be more emotional
Yes,
than logical, right?
logical. Because I like to be very factual, and you know, sometimes when people say you are becoming too vulnerable, I'm like, God did not take me through these experiences and bring me out to just keep it to myself, but to encourage somebody maybe that is hearing also now. So
Yes.
I used to live in the school hostel, and I had this it was always cool with every other ladies in the room with me, until this Nigerian lady who was older than everyone came, and she was so self-imposing, and you know, things were changing, and I was battling. I had issues. You know, I was going through a lot of stress. I was already gradually, you know, going into stress, depression, but I was silent about it. But you know, and she was adding so much pressure on it, and gradually, before I knew, I fell out of healthy relationship with everyone in my room.
Yeah.
I stopped communicating with them. I wasn't keeping malice with them,
Right.
but it was they were initially trying to get to me to you know, we were not like this before, you get, but it wasn't forthcoming. Now it also made me react, to be more reactive. And usually what happens is the effect on it on relationship is that you pass negative energy to people, and because they are on the receiving side, there is a limit to which they can take from you.
Right. So, it's a way. Was it a way for you to protect the little bit of peace you have left?
Yes, but then I wasn't doing it in the right way.
Yes, but you couldn't. If you could, then the problem is fixed. There
Yes,
was a
but
problem, so
yes,
it's not
but
like you knew how to fix it.
I couldn't. And also the fact that they were not like my friends, so to say. They were not in the inner circle of my life, so to say, as friends. They were not there to like be patient to figure out what is going on and be supportive to help through. Rather, usually what happens is it's like you're adding petrol to fire. So if you're not in a supportive environment or in a supportive relationship, the effect is that it destroys relationship. And it
Right.
stresses you as the person who is depressed. So what do if you find yourself constantly at loggerheads or having relationship issues? I'm not talking about boyfriend and girlfriend now, just you know, normal mutual relationship with people. If you see that you keep,
Even with your siblings, with your
yes,
parents.
so you need to take time out for yourself, possibly exit from the environment.
Because you
Find
can't pour from an empty cup. That's why you
Yes.
can't.
So
Yeah.
find a new environment that accommodates you and relaxes you.
Now you're not asking people to elope, Sha.
No, 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 no,
Because
no, 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 no,
okay,
no,
all
no,
right,
no, no.
okay.
Because I also learned that if I had done that earlier, I wouldn't have gone that deep to that point where I went of, you know, struggling with suicide issues. But I realized that it releases you into some fresh atmosphere and
Right.
allows you to re-energize. Because after much time, when I started going through my healing process, some of the scenarios of the people I had issues with, and I started seeing, and I started asking myself, why did I behave like that? Like, what I did was actually wrong,
You're right.
but I was not in the place to accept that I was wrong.
This is, you see, Janet, this is one of the reasons why I push hard against right and wrong. Because oftentimes we don't even know what the hell we're talking
What is
about when we
right?
say
What is wrong?
right. We don't know what is behind the scenes of what you're pointing at as right and wrong is a symptom, and there are other things behind the scene. Look at what Chiye said here, right? Chiye said, based on what you just said, Chiye said, sometimes I do wonder how I no go one kerewa. It means sex for those of you that don't know. Kerewa, just because we don't born finish. Maybe because the husband, oh no, they sweet. Okay,
Romance
she's
don't
throwing
come out
shots
now.
at men. But anyway, but the first part of the sentence, right? It's real. People find themselves, they maybe have low libido. They actually would like to fix it, but they can't.
Even that, even Kerewa self requires mental
It's all mental.
preparedness and strength. So if you're not there,
It's all mental now.
It's not gonna, even if you attempt it, it's not going to be like when you are all happy and in the best of mood. So it's that for me as well. Then also another thing that I realize is that with depression, it's chases people with this. This is just the negative part. It also also limits your chances of getting help.
Of
So
what?
when you of getting the right help,
Right,
because
right,
sometimes if you, and this is for people who just like to keep it all up continuously, and
right. Keeping up with the
yeah,
Joneses, just so it
yeah,
doesn't look like this outside. You're just always worried about what it looks like on the outside.
it sends out the wrong signals about who you really are, and the side effect on you is that it only adds to what you're going through. It doesn't help. Now on the flip side, which is the positive side, if you're surrounded with people who are intelligent is not the word I want to use now, who are sensitive and
Right.
kind-hearted, it will enable them to understand you and gives you the platform to express. Because one thing with depression is there's just something in there you need to express and bring out at some point. So it gives you that opportunity. And then also Patrick says something about bipolar, because it sometimes leads to bipolar behavior. And if you're surrounded with a supportive people around you, they can help you create an environment that enables you to engage in activities that will push out the much energy, and then taking some new mental activities.
Right, because it can't be a vacuum.
No, there can be a vacuum.
Something must replace it. So if there's any kind of circumstances you're trying to change, that's why another reason why I push against intentions. Right, people want to be intentional, but they don't have anything to replace what they're trying to replace.
Yeah.
You're not that intentional.
And I remember in my own case, this is on the good side, was the fact that I had someone who had also helped in his low moments, who got to know what I was going through.
Okay.
And he just observed that some things changed whenever we talk on the phone, and he came through. And one day he just called me and just said, "I'm in front of your house, dress up." I said, "Dress up to where?" He said, "You don't go out, you're always indoor. Dress up." I said, "To where?" Now, it takes someone who is patient to deal with me at that point, because I was not going to move. And so we went to this amusement park. I'd never done roller coaster in my life.
Wow. Wow.
Mr. Ola,
So you had the experience of your life.
Oh, that energy! By the time I was done, it was fun, because it was from he was very intentional.
Wow.
But
wow.
positively
that person was intentional. The person understood that you don't just preach to people to change behavior. You
correct.
replace it. People just don't change their behavior. It's either because is because they are running away from pleasure, they're running away from pain, or gravitating towards pleasure or some type of relief. People can't just wake up and say, hey, my behavior is shit. That's not how that works.
That is it. So it was showing me, because I had a workaholic life. If I'm not at work, I'm running my business. If I'm not at business, I'm in church, and I wasn't going to church because my problems started from church. In any case, long story short, so he knew I was there's a word in English, I think it's recluse. I was completely avoiding people. So what he did was he took me to a place where he said, I'm going to make sure you overcome your fears. And I'm going to make sure that you put in too much and you release the energy. So basically the effect of that on me as a depressed person, that's the effect of relationship on depression for a depressed person, is that I started enjoying going out. Now I do it myself.
So at this point, you're ready to skydive now, Abby?
No, I will not do that one. I told him I was never going to do that one. But now I'm ready. I can go on tour by myself. You know, these are things I don't used to do before. And so these are healthy relationships around someone who is depressed. And also someone who is depressed.
Fun stuff.
Yes. And someone who is depressed must also know that your behavior, don't feel guilty about it, but be knowledgeable enough that your behavior can also have a negative impact on healthy relationships that you have. So you also must take a conscious step to want a solution.
Self-awareness.
And to create a balance.
Yes. And that's what Binkwe was saying earlier, that they have to, acceptance is a big part of it, right?
Yes.
If you notice these things, like, obviously there are things you care about. It's not even about you at accepting the semantics. Let's change the word, the meaning, to whatever you like. The bottom line is that there are relationships and things you care about that will be destroyed if you don't engage self-awareness and say, let me do something about this. Maybe I can help other people. Maybe I can help myself. Maybe I can have better experiences, Yeah, big deal. But Patrick, you did there. But Patrick, you don't leave me. Anyway, yes, thank you so much, Jeanette. You're always welcome anytime on this stage. It just makes the conversation, elevate it to another level entirely. So thank you.
Hey, sorry, Allah.
No Allah.
Yeah, you know what? let me summarize what Sister Jeanette said.
Yes, please.
You know what?
Give me your last words with that too, okay?
Yeah, what she was trying to say, when you are in that situation, you really need somebody that genuinely loves you unconditionally. Yes. Somebody that will say, I got your back. And that was what that guy displayed.
Right.
The guy came to his door, his driveway, called her.
And he was paying attention, obviously, to her.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
He does anyway.
And like the man I told you that I respected, it's a family member. You can never hear from the wife. I was shocked when the man told me, when somebody is picking up his medication about $1,500 paid off by insurance, I told him, Patrick, do you know I have this? And I never heard from the wife, and they are living they are enjoying their life to the fullest. So you really need somebody that loves you genuinely, unconditionally, somebody that will not mock you. Like Janice was saying, that a lot of people that she told about her situation where they were kind of saying some other things, telling other people. So people that loves you genuinely, that you not look at these people as betrayers, that they're going to betray you.
Right.
So you need that. Those are the people that you need, that would attract, and you need to be by your side. And being attracted to such people will give you healing. Yes. Like we said, it may not even be saying something, but you know that these people really loves you unconditionally. Thank you very much. I
Thank you
appreciate
so much,
everything.
sir. Thank you so much, sir. Good to have you. You're always welcome. Of course, this is your house. I will steal you completely from Auntie B. But anyway.
And to be no good deal.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Janet, your last words.
To everyone listening, depression is not madness.
Hmm.
Depression is not that you are not enough. It's just a phase. It's just a challenge. And always remember that if you come through life this far, you can go beyond that situation, that circumstances. And if depression has affected you mentally to the point of you needing medication, please take it. There is no reason for you to be ashamed about it. Be more deliberate about who you surround yourself with, and also be self-determined. Positive confession and ensuring that a step at a time. No pressures. Don't force yourself. If anything you can do, but don't do beyond what your strength can take you per time. And I hope that everyone continues to have a healthy life. Thank you, Uncola.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. You're welcome anytime. Thank you, Jeanette. All right, we've had a good time so far, but it's sad that it's this kind of news that we had to extract lessons out of today. But this is the reality about life. Tomorrow is not promised for anyone. Tomorrow is not promised for anyone. That's the bottom line of everything. But while you're here, one of the major things, one of the few major things that really matters in life is our relationships, right? That's why we keep talking about relationships, right? So with that being said, we had to extract another major lesson out of this, for us. The reality is that this is a for-profit platform. Just in case you don't know that already, if it's not that obvious, it's a for-profit platform, and the way we want to generate those profits is by bringing value to people, helping people by actually helping them, right? And it's just by having these conversations. I don't do boast glass here. I don't know if you noticed, we don't do boast glass here. We don't tolerate it. We don't encourage it, right? We also we also don't we shy away from anything that seems controversial in nature, for obvious reasons, because I don't think I said that yesterday. I don't think it's necessary. But before there was this topic, there was also many other topics, and there will be many more topics. Each one of those topics and the lessons we extract out of them, those lessons are bigger than anyone's life. Every single one of us lives, right? It's about legacy. It's about leaving a positive impact here. It's about helping people. It's about transferring some of the wisdom that you and I have acquired along our experiences. We're transferring to other people that are listening. While we're doing that, yes, we do have fun, and we do have fun and toe banters and stuff like that. It just so happened that today's number one trending news in this space is this situation, and we celebrate this gentleman's life. Our condolences to him and his family, and we honestly, we wish it was a different type of news before, so we can shed light on his accomplishments and all that kind of stuff. But this is on every news platform right now. It is what it is. But for every one of you that were here, that participated in the conversation, shout out to Brother Patrick, shout out to Janet. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Shout out to J Bones for the super chat again. Thank you so much. Let me see. Shout out to Shinye. She's always fun in the chat. Isabel, shout out to you. Family support and good relationship goes a long way. But clinical major depression needs to be managed by a professional. Absolutely, please. Nothing. I said that in the beginning of this session. Nothing we said here today is your professional help. We're having a conversation. Okay? Maybe you can be a shoulder for someone to rest on when they're trying to figure their way out to a clinic. We already encourage a lot of people today to make sure you engage wise counsel, and if you can afford it, engage a therapist, please. Okay, engage a therapist if you feel like you can't understand what's going on. You're a normal human being. There's a lot of people going through this kind of stuff, right? So all of that is going to be all of that is what we're talking about. I'm rounding up. Final things. Show your face. Let me see if you're a human being in there. Oh, I know final things. Final, is that the same final thing? Just show your face for a second, and now you can turn it back off. But Patrick said, "Days of empowerment." We're trying. We're trying. No. Final things. You came in late. Show your face. I guess it's too late. All right. Yes. Tomorrow we'll continue the conversation. Tomorrow. Okay. Yeah, she left. It's probably she thought I was. We're rounding up. We're rounding up. We'll continue the conversation tomorrow, same time, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 4 p.m. Central Standard Time. What is it? 10 p.m. Nigeria UK time. All of the above. You know the rest. All right. Thank you so much. Hopefully you've been enlightened and educated. I'll see you on the next one. And peace.